Hey guys, it's Will. Hopefully you're having a great day today. In this video, we're gonna go over the top 3 semiconductor stocks that I'm trading here and investing in 2025. Hopefully you guys enjoy. When it comes to the main focus, or just comes down to any investing, we're going to assume that we're kind of going in the longer term to 6-month term on some of these stocks. And I'm not talking about intraday trading. If you want intraday trading, we do cover that as well. For example, SOXL, we traded it this morning in our Stockmate live session. You can see we bought here at the support and it swung from that support. Let's see how much it changed today. This is the semiconductor market, about 11%. So the market went up about 1/3 of that. So somewhere around 3 to 4%, and it's up 11% on SOXL. So if you guys want to watch me trade live and get some of these trades like we just did this morning, then I would encourage you to simply take a look at that second link in the description to watch me trade live. When it comes down to number 1, this is a company that has had tremendous growth, and I started investing in it back in 2021. I was working a job actually in solar. I was a project manager at the time. Probably not, shouldn't have been a project manager. I was investing about $20 per day into this stock. I ended up having an average cost of $20 per share, oddly enough. If you take a look at the company, it is one of the most powerhouse stocks, and I actually have it rated not number 1, it's number 3, Nvidia. Nvidia is a powerhouse. They build the infrastructure and data centers for all of the AI boom of 2025 and beyond. And I think that they're going to see more growth as they continue to develop robotics, mostly computers, GPUs, even announcing their new quantum computing sector recently at GTC 2025. They're a company that's innovating in almost every facet of AI, from the simulations to the large language models to machine learning, and possessing a huge data center structure, a portfolio of data centers, you could say. Is it portfolio? I don't know how you say that. A ton of data centers. They have a ton of data centers. And they also have AI infrastructure by providing GPUs for most other gaming companies or other data centers that are being built. So what do we see? Well, there's this trend that's starting to develop here on Nvidia since April 7th. So we saw a big market sell-off, and now we're starting to see this uptrend start to develop. You can kind of see this rising support and resistance, and it looks like maybe it's continuing some of the momentum. Now, when you take a big step out, this is going to look like a very small trend. 1 year out, look at that. Whoa, crazy, right? So now we see it pull back tremendously from the highs, despite having really good revenue quarter over quarter. So there's 3 things we look at in each one of these stocks. The first is the chart, the financials, and the news. And we look at the chart with Nvidia. Previous resistance at around $95 has also acted as a support, as it oftentimes does. And you can see that it recently bounced at around $95 right here on about April 7th. That's when it started its new trend. You can also see this previous resistance at $127 that also acted as a support. You kind of even bring it up that high to about $140 a share. And this is kind of the swing that we could potentially see and recovery here to previous highs in Nvidia. You might say, Will, it's already so high. I mean, do you really think that Nvidia is going to recover? Well, how many of you guys have seen the announcements from all of the big tech companies saying AI this, AI that, AI this? I think every single tech company in their recent earnings said, we're going to invest more in AI, more in data centers, or what have you. And Nvidia is one of the main companies that powers like X, for example, or Apple. You have them supplying the infrastructure for OpenAI to function. So ChatGPT. And when you look at the trend here, it's just an overall uptrend. They're building value. They're at $110 a share, and we could potentially see them get up to that $150 share in the near term, as even though they've been doing good in financials, they still have sold off. So that would be a 30% increase here. So the reason it's number 3 is because of the near-term upside. Just not quite as much as some of the other stocks we're about to take a look at. And their market cap is the biggest in the world. They're the number one company at 2.68 trillion. So it's great as a long-term investment, but when it comes to some explosive growth, I don't know that they're the number one for that. Take a look at their financials as well, and we go kind of quarter over quarter. Take a look at the net profit margins. Take a look at the net profit margins. They had 57%, 55%, then 55%, and the recent quarter 56%. So if you just look back from quarter one, they were at 57% profit margins. You see their profit margins shrink a little bit, and their operating income there at 24 billion. The net in cash going down a little bit. So they're, I guess, not seeing huge increases. They're already at a very high profit margin, but they're not seeing increase. They're actually seeing a little bit of a shrinkage there on their profit margins. So that's something just, to keep in mind that we could potentially see impact their company. I think that they're the number one player in the very, very long term. They beat their earnings, their revenue. But again, they're already pretty up there. And we just pointed out the upside of about 30% in the near term, which is okay. But let's take a look at number two. Number two, this is one of the most valuable semiconductor companies outside of Nvidia, and has their CEO that recently got Time Magazine CEO of the Year, and is actually the cousin of the CEO of Nvidia, and that is going to be AMD. So AMD stock has been one we focused on significantly. Take a look at AMD here. If I could search it up, I don't know. Usually I see it. It's up 5% today. So I think I gotta research it here. AMD. There we go. So as you can see, AMD has this trend. We've had some downtrends recently on the near term, but we're looking at AMD stock from a bullish perspective. I think these are some of the trends we've seen. A lot of people say the advanced money destroyer, like it's going down so much, it's just gonna keep dropping. But AMD is at $93 a share. The upside for AMD, I think, is huge. If we could actually see some of this trend that happened from 2022 until February of 2024, that was a 300% swing. And it's similar to this trend that we saw back here. That was about a 700% swing. Now, of course, it's grown a lot since then, but I think we could definitely see something similar to that. I think we could see a trend that looks something like this. And yeah, some people say, well, semiconductors aren't going to be so hot. Look at the economy, the tariffs, all that stuff. But those are all things that impact any market. And the reality is that a lot of the semiconductor space isn't going to be hit by tariffs as much. We don't get tariffs from China, or we don't get semiconductors from China. And that's where most of the tariffs are going. So semiconductors come from the US and they come from Taiwan, and we have pretty good developments in the manufacturing of semiconductors. So for that reason, I think that they could still withstand some upside, even if the market tariffs are getting, having an impact. So 153% upside. It's, about 5 times more than that of Nvidia. And if you take a look at, let's take a quick peek at AMD stock. They are also supplying the chips for Starlink, and I'm incredibly bullish on Starlink. Personally, I've lived in a remote area here in California, Northern California, just between Silicon Valley and Tahoe. So I guess you could say between Sacramento and Tahoe. I'm more towards Tahoe. And we've always had bad internet, but AMD has made it easy to get fast internet because why? They supplied the microchips that power the Starlink satellites. Now, a lot of people don't know that, but I think that's going to reflect even more in their financials. As we can see, if you look quarter over quarter, look at their revenue. They were at 5 billion. Then they jumped to 5.8. They jumped to 6.8, and then 7.7 in quarter 4. And they're expected to see increases in revenue. They also are investing more. So their net income's a little bit down, but that's because they've said, we're going further away from gaming, we're going bigger on data centers, and they have the partnership, personally, I think that's huge, with Starlink. So I think the upside is going to be massive. I mean, you could look, I remember driving from California to Colorado in 2022 when I was moving there. My wife and my friend, it was my wife Tammy and My friend Ben, who works at Rocket Lab, actually, really awesome friend of mine I've known for my whole life, basically. We're driving and we're talking about how T-Mobile just partnered with Starlink. And my friend started investing in Tesla around like 2013. Like we were talking about it in like 5th grade or something like that, or 6th grade. And I remember like going through and seeing the T-Mobile partnership after Starlink happened. And so basically, if you take a look at T-Mobile, let's take a look at their recent moves. So T-Mobile is somewhere, ticker symbol is, let's see, I can just pull them up here. T-Mobile, let's see, yeah, TMUS. They surged right after that. So that was in 2022. Right here is when the partnership happened. After the Starlink partnership, yeah, they're a company, they have revenues, but the Starlink, you even see them advertise it in the Super Bowl. And they are up 122% since that. And it's really differentiated them as a mobile carrier. So I think with this AMD partnership, they're seeing increased revenues. They're going to see more money in the future. And that's why I have them there at number 2. Now, this one is going to be a little controversial. A lot of people would say Nvidia number 1, but we're kind of talking about the explosive growth, right? AMD stock is going to be a big player, and I believe that with their stewardship with Lisa Su, they have a great advantage. They're in Santa Clara, so they're right next to a lot of the companies that are already needing semiconductors. And with this trend that they've had recently, I believe AMD can be a top player and recover to some of their previous highs. So I'm quite bullish on them. And again, we trade them pretty often, just like we're trading the semiconductors this morning in StockMate. Again, that's second link in the description if you guys want to join us. Now, when it comes to the number 1 spot, this is a company that already has kicked into their market cap. And they're already one of the biggest companies in the world. They're just above Tesla at number 10 in the market cap rankings of publicly traded stocks. And if you haven't heard of them, they're one of my favorite trades that I made in the last 2 years was riding from 2022, late 2022 here, through into 2024 summer with Taiwan Semiconductor. And Taiwan Semiconductor supplies the microchips that power Nvidia. They supply a lot of the microchips that are in Apple phones or in Google phones. And mostly, I guess, Broadcom is there with Google. But nevertheless, you have Taiwan Semiconductor. They made a huge run last time. There's about 280%. This is that swing that I got to capitalize on. Not the full swing. I capitalized on 180. And as you can see, they recently pulled back pretty big. I'm expecting Taiwan Semiconductor to make a recovery because of the demand for their chips, but also because they're one of the the little known facts about Taiwan Semiconductor is that they moved their manufacturing into Arizona in the United States. So their manufacturing is in the US now as well, which gives them an advantage if we have any uncertainty with tariffs. So the recovery could be about 40 to 50% recovery on Taiwan Semiconductor. And from the bottom of where they recently pulled back to, it's about a 70% increase. Now, is it going to just V-shaped pattern up? Probably not. It might take more time, but the reality is the RSI looks oversold, the MACD looks oversold. The company is established in the US, which gives them an advantage, and they already have key connections with companies like Nvidia and others. So I have them there at the number 1 spot, Taiwan Semiconductor. It's not as much margin for AM as compared to AMD for profit margins. It's more margin for profit compared to Nvidia in the near term. But when you look at the certainty that I have with this company around their connections and seeing them kind of power some of the companies like Nvidia, I see them as a top player, and I'm fairly certain that this is a recovery that we'll see take place in a matter of time. So with those 3 top semiconductors, they're going to be powering the AI space and absolutely changing the way. I think it's a special time to be looking at these companies because of the recent pullback. So the way that the same way that we look at a pullback, let's say you could say, look at oil and gas when the prices were going crazy. And then once we had a change in administration, you saw Saudi Arabia or Aramco, right? They're all slowing oil production, anticipating that the U.S. was going to, incorporate more oil production in the U.S. And so at that point, it was like, to me, I see the writing on the wall, and we're able to make that trade right around the elections and capitalize on oil and gas. And the same way here is with semiconductors. I feel like they already have some manufacturing in the US. They're already in a place where we don't source semiconductors. It's actually a national security issue if we're sourcing from China. So the US won't see an impact from tariffs, and I see them as one of the markets that will continue to grow throughout AI. So that's why I have them here as a market we're following right now. Some of the other markets we follow are quantum computing. We recently got to go to the Qubits conference, meet the D-Wave CEO, and we also were covering that in depth. If you guys want to watch, feel free to subscribe. And do consider, if I earned your thumbs up, hit that like button. We also just went to the SpaceX event, got to talk with Rocket Lab and Lockheed Martin, and we got our media pass for free because we're growing so much. So again, it's amazing. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Appreciate you all. Thanks so much for the support. And at the end of the day, I'm just here to take this market, all these markets that are growing, shed some light on the different areas that you can look for as an investor or a trader. If you're just a beginner and you're getting started, these are the companies that I would recommend. If you're looking for more advanced plays, we do trade, for example, this morning inside of our live trading this morning, we were trading the SOXL, which is the semiconductor bull. And essentially it goes up, it swings with the market. You can see these swings, they're quite heavy, they're quite volatile, and they're not anything that I would recommend for a beginner. But if you're starting to get more advanced, these are the types of swings that traders are like waiting for. Like, this doesn't happen very often. And we're doing it right now. We're trading them in the morning. So again, if you guys would like to see those entries and exits, it's the second link in the description. Our lifetime access sale is going away, so it's not going to get better than this. We've got a huge sale there. Again, it's that second link down below. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button.